What's going on, guys? It's Jimmy here. Welcome to our daily show where we discuss everything going on here in our country on a daily basis, including money, investing, the stock market, the fourth stimulus package update, and stimulus check update. And experts are saying that gas prices are headed to $6 a gallon here in the US by Labor Day. Yeah. That's crazy. We'll talk about that here in this video. And President Biden is considering and may soon back a federal gas tax holiday, pausing the federal gas tax and rebate cards or stimulus checks, however they decide to basically send out money to basically help with inflation or gas prices, which is just crushing tens of millions of Americans right now. It's out of control. Out of control. Even though oil prices have actually come down. I know. WTI crude was at $120 a barrel here just a few days ago. It's now down to 112. And Brent crude at 115. So both of these are down a pretty decent amount here. And yet, you can see here gas prices in the US, national average here in the US, down only about 2 cents at 4.98 a gallon here for the national average here in the US. Of course, if you're in California, well, yeah, that's a slightly different story there, right? And meanwhile, the price of oil is going down. Regular gas has only gone down like 2 or 3 cents. Diesel has actually gone up. And remember, diesel is very important because even if you don't buy any diesel, the price of diesel affects your food prices. It affects anything you buy from the store, goods, tennis shoes, plastic items, anything, cleaning supplies, anything you buy from the grocery store probably was shipped there from a semi truck which uses diesel, which is part of the reason why food prices are at a all-time high in the US and all around the world. Of course, the war in Ukraine is also another part of that reason. They're the breadbasket of the world, Ukraine, Russia, and they produce as high as 30% of some items like wheat and some other items over there. And you know, Ukraine is having a massive issue getting their items out of the ports because, well, Russia's simply blocking them and not allowing them to be shipped out. Well, because it's a war going on over there, and at this rate, it's not going to end anytime soon. And well, you can see here, diesel prices have actually gone up, which actually makes no sense because oil prices have gone down. Just yet another indicator that the gas and oil companies are just gouging us. You can see here, um, yeah, so it's still at 581. It's been here for a few days now. And the this is the highest price here ever for diesel. Isn't that sick? Yeah, so and you can see here 501 was the highest price ever for regular unleaded. And we're only at 498 now. We're only at 498 now. You can see here and so we're only like 3 cents less than that. Yeah. And experts are saying that the national average price of gas could go up $1 more by Labor Day, just in a few months from now. Yeah, check this out. Yeah, President Biden sent a recent letter to gas and oil companies and refiners to complain of high gasoline prices is the only positive action he can take on behalf of consumers. That's not true. I'll let you hear an interview here from him in a second. But it won't keep the average price at the pump in the US from climbing another dollar from September and topping $6 a gallon, some experts are predicting. Here's why: shrinking US refinery capacity, even as oil output recovers from the pandemic lows, and a well known shift in European demand away from Russian oil has cut into US stockpiles more deeply than many people realize. Plus, Biden's ability to act is further limited by underappreciated policy decisions that, ironically, he helped make. The first big policy shift occurred back in 1973, the year Biden joined the Senate. Yeah, that was like 50 years ago. When President Nixon removed President Eisenhower's oil import quota to fight inflation. Wow. OPEC's cheap oil began to flood the US market and undercut domestic producers. Wow. The subsequent Arab oil embargo from October 1973 to March 1974 raised crude oil prices everywhere except the US because Nixon's August 1973 price controls were in force. While domestic refiners could buy foreign oil and refine it, which they did, selling it at home was a money loser. The gasoline that did come the domestic market was limited by the amount of price controlled domestic crude oil. That was what led to long lines of people waiting to fill up. I'm not sure if that was good or bad. Imagine if you had to do that today. Imagine if you had to go to the gas station and wait, if you had to ration gas. Imagine with all the transportation companies today. Imagine with all the self-employed people that like drive for Uber and Lyft and DoorDash. Imagine all those people if they couldn't get gas. I mean, our economy is just a different place today. Imagine if you were only ever allowed like one tank of gas like every 2 weeks or something like that. Wow. It would be, I don't even know how they would work it out. I don't, they might have to like rearrange some type of thing differently for people with jobs that drive, but yeah, it would be crazy. Yeah, but that's what led to long lines of people waiting to fill up, gas rationing in some states, and the federally mandated 55-mile-an-hour speed limit, which doesn't really exist anymore. Because domestic crude oil price controls continued in one form or another through to the Reagan administration, the U.S. began increasingly dependent on foreign supplies offset only by Alaskan oil that was not subject to either price controls or the Crude Oil Windfall Profit Act of 1980. Yeah. The second major policy shift occurred in 2015 when Congress ended its 1974 ban on crude oil exports. Yeah, this was the boom period of fracking, and so much lighter crude oils were pumped out of the ground that supplies overwhelmed the ability of domestic refineries to process the lighter oils. Other refineries configured to process the heavier oils imported by Canada, Venezuela, Saudi Arabia, and Mexico, and lifted the export ban, removed any profit motive for these heavy oil refineries to retool. Today, the US still imports 6 million plus barrels of heavy crude, about one third of overall demand. So now, today, the US is importing and exporting oil and gas, basically, however, these oil and gas companies see fit. Even so, today, even at $5 a gallon gas, remember, a lot of other countries around the world are paying 8, 9, even $10 a gallon gas if you equate it to US dollars and US gallons. It still really doesn't help us at home, but just kind of give you an idea there. We still do not. need to try to figure out everything we can to try to reduce prices or to help people here at home. Now we fast forward to 2022 with the outbreak of Ukraine war, sanctions on Russian, pretty much all Russian oil at some point here for the whole world almost. There's more demand for oil related products from the US. Europe is replacing Russian supply with purchases from the global market. And the US is the one source of those sales. The US is actually the number one producer of oil in the world. Russia and Saudi Arabia are like number two and number three. This would not have been possible had the export ban been in place. That would have meant that the US would not be able to export any oil. As a result, the US inventories of refined products and crude are below 5-year averages, as you can kind of see here in this graph. A third major policy shift was the pullout from Afghanistan, thereby ending the quote, blood for oil trade begun by President George W. Bush with the invasion of Iraq and continued through former President Trump. Former Reserve Chairman Alan Greenspan, in his book, The Age of Turbulence, said, quote, I am saddened that it is politically inconvenient to acknowledge what everybody knows, that the Iraq war is, quote, largely about oil. President Biden doesn't have the military in the Middle East protecting Saudi Arabia as a bargaining chip for lower oil prices. And as you can see here, President Biden correctly points out refinery capacity in the US has dropped over the last several years. Several have closed in recent years because of high operating costs. Conversion to renewable fuel, Bakersfield, California, one in San Francisco, several in mid-continent are underway now. Mounting environmental restrictions, damage from hurricanes, one exploded. Some have been on the market for years with no buyers because of low margins and large environmental liabilities. Yeah, so you can see this kind of list here of these different how many barrels per day. I'll remove myself here so you can see this. And the reason and what happened to these refineries here. One had an explosion and a bankruptcy. One converted to renewable fuels. One had low demand. You can see these different, Marathon, Shell, unprofitable. So you can see the storm damage. You can see here. This is part of the reason here. Even so, nonetheless, we still actually have lower prices around the world, right? And that's before taking into account the push for renewable fuels and electric cars. They're saying that profit margins on refineries are a minuscule 1.5%. And a greenfield refinery can take 5 years if all goes smoothly, and more than $20,000 per barrel of capacity to build. ExxonMobil is 3 years into a reported $1.5 billion, 250,000 barrels per day expansion at its Texas refinery. President Biden's frustration is evident. He continues to release 1 million barrels per day from the nation's strategic petroleum reserve to try to reduce prices, but the impact on prices have been minimal. Some goes overseas as Americans subsidize fuel prices around the world, especially in Europe with the war on Russia. The stockpile is limited, and the competitive game, OPEC, has more staying power. Here is what President Biden has to say about pausing the federal gas tax here for Americans. And check this out.
Americans are looking for relief at the pump, hoping that lawmakers can do something to bring those prices down, even if that's temporary. To that point, White House officials say a federal gas tax holiday is on the table. As of today, the average cost of a gallon is hovering around $5. Joining me now is NBC News White House correspondent Mike Memoli. So this would shave off what was it, 13, 15, 16 cents per gallon. Nice, but it's not going to get the price down to where it was last year, Mike.
Yeah, that's right, Katie. 18 cents is the magic
18.
number that a federal gas tax holiday would mean for Americans. And in fact, we've seen a number of states already suspend state-level gas taxes, and a number of those states are led by Democratic governors and legislatures. So this is an idea that has been sort of in the air for some time. You talk about gas prices hovering around $5 a gallon. The president's approval rating is hovering around 40%, and his approval on the economy is even lower than that. So that's really what's driving the urgency on the part of the White House today. The White House has consistently said that all options are on the table, that the president is considering a range of actions. Today, the president was taking a walk on the beach in Rehoboth Beach, Delaware, and he took some questions, including about this idea of a gas tax holiday. Let's hear what he had to say.
Mr. President, are you considering a pause on the federal gas tax, Mr. President? We know that you're considering it, and Secretary Yellen spoke about it yesterday.
Yes, I'm considering it.
How soon can we expect a decision?
Well, I hope I have a decision based on data I'm looking for by the end of the week.
Now, Katie, there are, of course, some trade-offs if you pursue this gas tax holiday. One is that if you suspend the gas tax, at some point you have to reimpose it. That's one of the political tricks here, is that at some point, if the gas price does lower enough, then you still have to reimpose the tax, and that will raise it once again. The other bigger issue, as Jennifer Granholm, the Energy Secretary, laid out over the weekend, is this federal gas tax pays for things. It pays for infrastructure. The infrastructure law that the president signed last year is one of the main accomplishments they're running on. And so they don't want to necessarily rob Peter to pay Paul's, put some of these infrastructure projects in jeopardy because you cut off one of the main sources of revenue for it. So decision, the president says by the end of the week. We know sometimes those decisions, especially in this White House, drag on a little bit longer than that.
Really, really interesting. Mem, thank you so much.
And President Biden told reporters on Monday that as another relief measure, gas rebate cards were also under deliberation, which would basically be a debit card with money on it, similar to the stimulus check cards, debit cards that were sent out last time around. They did send out a couple million debit cards to people who didn't have banking information on file, mostly. Stimulus checks, paper checks, or direct deposits would be easier, especially because there's a chip shortage right now or a difficulty getting it. But they do kind of want to send out gas rebate cards as a, I think it kind of sends a good message to say, hey, these are for gas. These are to combat the gas prices. But I mean, really, there's high food prices as well. So, and really, it's just going to be a lot easier to direct deposit money. And for people who don't have direct deposits, send them a stimulus check. People are used to that. They're going to have to send out the direct deposits, I'm sorry, send out the debit cards in the mail anyways, just like they would a stimulus check for people who don't have direct deposit. Everybody knows if you have direct deposit, just basically your banking account information on file with the IRS. That's the easiest way. You literally get your money like within a few days now. Because the IRS kind of has it down. The first stimulus check kind of took some time, but the second and third stimulus checks went very quickly after Congress passed it here. But President Biden says, yeah, he told reporters on Monday as another relief measure, gas rebate cards were also under deliberation. Said, quote, that's part of what we're considering, he said when asked. That's part of the whole operation. They also said, it's unclear, however, how much they would be or how they would even work. I'll keep you updated as we get more details. A recession isn't guaranteed either. A White House administration official said that a recession is not inevitable, saying that, well, some people say we're already in a recession because of how bad inflation is. Biden said on Monday, there's nothing inevitable about a new recession. Yeah, so let me know your thoughts here in the comments. I will keep you up to date here with everything going on here in our country on a daily basis. If you haven't subscribed to our YouTube channel yet, make sure to click the subscribe button down below. Right now, it's completely free to do so. This way you won't miss out on new videos when they come out here every day at 10 a.m., 3 p.m., and 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And then after you click the subscribe button, click the bell icon that'll appear next to the subscribe button so you get notifications and you don't miss out on new videos. Also, you can click here to see my newest video on $2,400 Social Security raises that just came out. And this is my other newest video on stimulus checks that is coming out here as well. So click on one of those videos next. Thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you in the next video.